Well, hello, folks. Welcome to the Jeffrey Darty Show. I am Jeffrey Darty. I'm the guy that's causing all the trouble, creating all the commotion. We are back with the Jeffrey Darty Show. I am the Christian whistleblower. We're glad to have you with us. 3 power-packed episodes this week. Ready to challenge conventional wisdom. Ready to challenge the dominant paradigm, ready to ask the questions no one else will, and do it all with a smile. Because we're not mean, we're not mad, we're just kind of fed up at times with with all the foolishness and the garbage and the manipulation and the machination and the slavery and the matrix, the control matrix, fear-based, guilt-based, that just keeps us down, and we've been down too long. It's time for us to rise up and take our rightful place. Last we talked about Jesus and missions, the old win the lost, who's the lost, and what's going on with that. I encourage you to go back and listen to that broadcast if you haven't, because it does somewhat set the table for this one. And this one, I mean, just amazing stuff. And, I've read the Bible probably 130, 40 times, cover to cover, maybe more. And as amazing as it is, the more you read it, the more you see in it, because I think your spiritual eyes are open. Your eyes to see get more acute. Your ears to hear get more able. And it's just amazing stuff. But as I was reading, I thought about Jesus, Yahushua, actually, and what I call his whosoever wills. The first whosoever will that my attention was drawn to was John chapter 7. And it's interesting that it's John, because John wrote his gospel 40, 50 years after everybody else had written their gospel, and 30 years after that scribbler Paul was finished writing. So John had time to watch, to listen, to see the dust of history and the birth of the Jesus movement settle, the rise of opposition. Before John died around 100 AD, when he penned these words, he had seen it all, and he had took a last look. And I'm in the final stages of finishing a book called Aliens in the New Testament, the final message of the last apostle. And it is from this unique perspective of John the Apostle, 40, 50 years after every other word of the New Testament was written, that he takes account, and he makes a reckoning, and he delivers the blast of the Testament.
Fascinating stuff. I think it's a book that you will be amazed by, and I just can't wait to get it out, but I got to make sure that we do it right. I just was introduced. I wasn't introduced. I want to get into a long thing here, but I just for the first time picked up the works of Zecharia Sitchin. That's not quite accurate, but at any rate, they first came alive to me, and I was able, on the origin sides of things, to be able to synthesize a lot of historical records, a lot of biblical records, and a lot of what Zecharia Sitchin discovered in the old epic writings from Sumer, and coming down from there. Now, I'm still a follower from afar on the continued existence and pending return of the 12th planet. Not sure I'm right there on that, but there's no doubt that Sitchin did open up great vistas of understanding to us about the origins, not only of man, but of spirituality in mankind. And I think that perhaps for the first time ever, we've been able to synthesize the great epic creation tales of all faiths with the biblical record and with the very fascinating assertions of Zecharia Sitchin. So look forward to that.
the aliens in the New Testament. Maybe we should do a pre-order special on that. Let me think about that. Maybe I'll come out with that on Wednesday. The book is not ready, but if you wanted to pre-order it, perhaps we could make a special for those that are wanting to get it first. But let's look at these whosoever wills. And Jesus was talking in this first one in John, the 7th chapter, which is interesting, 7 being the number of completion. And he was talking during Tabernacles, actually the last great day of Tabernacles. And if you know anything about the festivals of the Elohim, I'm going to try to name these off the top of my head. You have Passover, you have Pentecost, you have trumpets, you have atonement, you have, what am I forgetting? Atonement, you have tabernacles, you have last great day, and there's one more that I'm forgetting. Am I forgetting trumpets? But at any rate, there's 7 of these festivals. And Jesus is talking at the 7th of these festivals, the one called the Feast of Tabernacles. And actually the last great day of the Feast of Tabernacles, there's my 7th feast right there, last great day, because it's considered a separate festival because it pictures the completion of all things. Tabernacle shows God coming to live with man. You could say that was Yahushua coming down in the form of God in human form, or at least a God in human form, and Elohim, maybe even an Anunnaki. See, that's the kind of things that we're looking at in the aliens in the New Testament, and so much more. That's really more on the final message of the last apostle. But at any rate, Jesus standing up on the day that talks about the consummation of all things, the institution and the fullness of the kingdom of God on earth, really the reestablishment of that which was established in Genesis 1:1 before the Lord. That's right, the Lord came and destroyed the earth that was created by the Elohim, who are the Anunnaki, if you follow the Sitchin school of thought, and left the earth in its condition of Genesis 1:2. Just a little quick tidbit. In the beginning, the gods, if you render it correctly, created the heavens and the earth. I show in my book that Jesus was definitely one of those gods. And then the earth was without form and void. We think, oh, they created it without form and void. That word was, everywhere else in the Bible, means came to pass, became. So what happened was the earth was created in perfection by the Elohim and Jesus, who was one of them, Anunnaki in parentheses, if you are a follower of the Sitchin mindset. And then it was destroyed. Somehow it became without form and void. I think we show irrefutably, whichever way you want to pronounce that it was the Lord who destroyed the earth. And we also show that the Lord was Marduk, and that Zechariah Sitchin also shows that the Lord may well have been the god Zu, Z-U, who also in the Sumerian epics destroyed the earth. So very, very fascinating stuff. But at any rate, Jesus stands up at the last great day of the feast, which again is emblematic of this consummation, really the reconsummation of all things. And he said, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. That's really a whosoever will. Jesus said, whosoever will, if any man comes to me, if any man is thirsty, let him come to me and drink. No, he didn't say if any man who wants to follow the religious dictates of a particular group, let him come to me. He didn't say let all Baptists, Methodists, Episcopalians, Presbyterians, Constitutionalists, Republicans, Democrats. No, he said let everybody come to me. Jesus doesn't care what badge you wear. He just cares what's going on in your heart. And then he says, he that believes in me, Out of his belly flows rivers of living water. Jesus said, whoever you are, if any man, and remember, he's standing up at a great festival in Jerusalem where there was people from every land, and he probably ticked a lot of people off because they're there because they think they're the only ones that God says come to, because they're the chosen ones. But Jesus says, no, 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 let any man come unto me who's thirsty. There are blessings, there are teachings of virtue and development. The kingdom of God is open to every man, every woman who's thirsty enough to come to Jesus, regardless of what their religious affiliation may be or may not be. It's not just for those that don't smoke, drink, or chew, or hang out with those that do. Sorry to disappoint you, brother. And then over in Revelation, which was also written by John, probably one of the most greatly corrupted books in the entire New Testament, but that is beside the point, and we talk about that as well in the new book. But in Revelation 22:17, John again writes, and the Spirit and the bride say, come. And let him that hears say, come. And let him who is athirst come, and whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely. Once again, echoing the words of Jesus at the last great day. This is the last true verse of the Bible that was really written by John and not added by translators. So the last great verse of the last great book says, whosoever will, let him come and take of the water of life freely. And notice this, those that hear say, come. So if you have really heard, so God, the gods, Jesus is saying, come. Whosoever will. Don't care who you are, what you do, what you look like, what you act like, what you smell like. Don't care what you think you are or who you think you are. Whosoever will, let him come. That's what God says. And then those that hear say, come. So if you really have heard the message of the divine, you say, come. You don't say, come, but first, you got to do this, you got to do that. You can't do this, you can't do that. You can't wear this, you can't wear that. You can't eat this, you can't eat that, can't drink that. That's not what the Spirit says. That's what the spirit of legalism says. That's not what God says. That's what ignorant people say, and not really ignorant, but stupid, because some people are stupid. I define ignorance as lacking knowledge. I define stupid as having access to that knowledge and not appropriating it. So if you've really heard what the gods say, then you say, come. Whoever is athirst, whoever will, let him take of the water of life freely. And let me close with this. This is something that you're going to look up on your own in the Greek interlinear that you can find on the internet. The great words of Jesus, come unto me, all ye that are weak and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light, and you'll find rest unto your souls. Look at that verse in the original Greek, and you will be blown away. What Jesus said was, come unto me, all of you that are burdened down with religious ritual and, with religious ritual and demands. All of you that are burdened down with religious demands and rules and regulations, come unto me. For my yoke is easy, my burden's light. I don't have any of that. And you'll find rest for your souls. Jesus came to free us. Jesus came to save us from religion. and show us the way back to the Father. It's Monday, December 15th. I'll see you again on Wednesday. Until then, ChristianWhistleblower.com, GothamLTD@gmail.com, NCKabbalah@gmail.com, at NCKabbalah on Twitter, Jeffrey Darty Show on Facebook. If you got something to say, say it. And until then, I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian Whistleblower, wishing you peace and light.